right, let's stay talking to politicians, but this is an issue, I think, that reaches into every New Zealand home. I doubt that any of you listening do not have an insurance policy, that you are not insured for something. The house, the car, your life, employment insurance, accident insurance, health insurance, cover for when things go wrong. And I guess maybe in the last, 15, 20 years, New Zealanders' faith in insurance has probably been somewhat shaken. And when we look at what happened after natural disasters like the Christchurch quake, whether or not insurance companies are really there to help you in times of trouble, whether or not their terms and conditions do provide the peace of mind they always go on about in their advertising, I think has been a moot point in recent years in this country. So I've got to say, I was pretty heartened to see the government, taking some moves, it would seem to me, to improve fundamentally the behaviour of insurance companies. And there are old jokes like, I am covered, my car's covered if an elephant sits on it. Yep. Yeah, but not if someone scrapes it in the supermarket car park, which is more likely to happen. So what has the government done? To find out, we are joined now by the Commerce and Consumer Affairs Minister, Andrew Bailey, who joins us on the phone. Minister, welcome to the platform. Nice to have you with us.
Hey, good morning, Sean.
All right, so you have got some changes afoot in insurance law. You've called it modernisation of insurance law to better protect Kiwis and provide security in the event of disaster. What is it precisely you're doing?
Hey, well, first of all, there's actually a lot, partly because insurance laws have become complicated and dated. Some of it's over 100 years old. So in terms of consumers, I think three main things. The first thing, when you have to fill out your form and they ask you to disclose your medical history.
Okay, so in any insurance or just medical are we talking about, or across the board?
We're talking about general and household insurance, so that type of insurance. So, but I'm just giving you an example of you're filling out and it says, fill out your medical history. You sit there going, wow, what should I fill out? Do I have to put down I was taking a pill today or whatever?
Or I had an ingrown toenail or whatever.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So now we're going to shift the liability for asking the right question to the insurance company. And therefore, if they don't ask the right question, they can't refuse a claim. That's the first thing.
All right. So that, Andrew, I just want to check. So that's when they come and say, we're not going to pay you out. You didn't tell us such and such.
Oh, look, there's been horrendous examples. Yeah. Hopefully they're not going to happen now. But, for instance, there was a lady whose husband was killed by a truck driver, and when they went to make a claim, because they'd found out he was a bankrupt, they didn't pay out the claim. Or there was another example, someone had a heart attack and they went to make a claim, and because they hadn't disclosed that they had a sore hip, the claim was refused. So what we're trying to do is get around those situations. So you still, as the person filling out the form, have to put in the right words and, the right stuff, but insurance company just can't say now, just fill out your medical insurance if it's a medical related insurance type stuff.
So they've got to ask the specific questions, but you then have an onus to answer honestly. But they can't then, because they didn't ask the right question, turn around and use that as an excuse to renege on their part of the deal or on covering you. Yeah. And you're saying that's been a widespread problem?
Oh, I don't know if it's a widespread. The insurance industry, I've got to say, that in the main is pretty good. But there have been certainly instances that are clearly unfair, and we want to deal with that.
Okay, is this retrospective? Is this retrospective, Minister, in this regard at this point?
No, I think if you're in the transition, obviously, one of the other things that's happening is that insurance policies are now going to have to be written in clear language. So that'll give greater ability, to compare policies across insurance companies. But it's all part of that change of updating it.
All right.
And the third thing is that that insurers will have to pay out in reasonable time now. That's another thing that wasn't explicitly in the agreements before.
Okay, define reasonable time.
Well, it depends on the nature of the claim. Sometimes it'll be very complicated and sometimes it won't. If it's simple, payment should occur very quickly. And what's never been...
Yeah, but what's very quickly,
law,
Minister? That's the question.
Yeah, I know, but we haven't put a specific date on it. But what we've now got is if you have a dispute with an insurance company and let's say you take it to court or arbitration, then now there is a reference point in the law that says the insurance company has to pay it out quickly within the circumstances of the claim. So what I'm saying is if there's a really complicated claim, it might take longer to pay out, but if it's a simple claim, it should be paid out straight away. And you now can say to someone, well, that's not right.
Well, Minister, if we look back to the biggest collective disaster that we've had, which was the Christchurch quakes, right? Yeah. People took years to get settled, and part of that was simply that the insurance companies did not have the capacity to process the claims that they had. I don't think it was for want of trying, but it was such a widespread and catastrophic event that they really ran out of expertise in terms of claims assessments and other things, which I thought was a complete failure of the industry. Will any of this legislation stop that happening in future in similar circumstances?
Well, I think just on the Christchurch, I think there were processes put in that kicked in during the Kaikoura, which meant that EQC relied much more heavily on the insurance industry to provide that support. So that sped it up. But where this law would kick in is that in your particular house, if it was a pretty simple repair, and then that's when it needs to be settled and paid out quickly. You would have the ability in your particular circumstances to be able to say, look, this is unreasonable, and be able to take that up. You can, rather than just generically across thousands of homes. It's what is reasonable in your circumstances.